Okay, so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to prototype the serial interface for the Voxlink RoIP interface here. So what I'm going to do is just explain a little bit about how I do all this. So you can see here I've got, this is a Texas Instruments PCM series sound card basically. And it's just on a little breakout board, and I get these breakout boards from eBay, and all they do is just convert one form factor into something else. So for instance, you know, QFP or QFN package chips into something that's a bit more manageable. So depending on where you're from, you'd call it 0.1 inch or 2.54 millimeter is the distance between these pins, and it just makes it a little bit easier to work with because these chips obviously have extremely small legs that are a short distance apart, and if you can solder one of these chips onto one of these boards, then the board will give you the pins are the same distance apart as they need to be to go into a bit of breadboard or regular Vera board with 0.1 inch spacing. So that's that. That is a USB hub that I tried messing around with that, to be frankly honest with you, I didn't get along with it very well, so I'm going to put that off to one side. And this is a naked breakout board. Exactly the same as this one, so obviously there's no chip on there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder the USB to serial chip onto here. Now this is an FT232 is the part number, so what I'll do is I'll just make sure the chip's out of the way here. And there we go, it's onto the bench. I use one of these clamps, and you've got a couple of legs here that have got little notches in them, and another one here that's got notches on it, and this one can slide about, but it's got a spring on the back of it, and you can move where the spring is set to just grab hold of your board there for you. So what we do is I'm just going to scoot this up here. I'm not going to put a whole ton of pressure on it here, just nudge it up, and that's it. And the board is now quite stable, and because this has got some little rubber feet on the bottom of it, it's relatively well stable on the bench. It's not just going to float about all over the place. Okay, I'll bring you in a bit closer and we'll get this chip onto here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is just apply some flux. So again, it's the same trick as before. I've got this tub of flux here. It's quite solid stuff. It's quite gloopy when it's cold, when it's at room temperature. So let's get a whole load of this stuff onto a spatula, and usual deal, recklessly put as much of this stuff on here as I think my lungs can possibly tolerate. I've seen other people use stuff that comes in a syringe. I've seen a few different systems for this, so I'll have to explore that at some point, I guess. Okay, and that's just tinned those off. Excellent stuff. There's a couple of solder bridges here. Right, that's that sorted out. Just gonna bring my other lamp in here a little bit closer. I get so many shadows. Right, so we've got the chip. I don't know if you can see that, but just at the top left there is a little dimple. That is to indicate pin 1. And on this board, the pins are numbered. The top left hand side is number 1, and I can actually see the trace coming down here. But as if that wasn't enough, they've got a silk screen here with a dimple at the top. It's not in the centre, but it is at the top. So that indicates pin 1 goes upwards here. So this is where that flux can be quite handy, because it's so gloopy. It acts as a kind of glue. It just holds the chip still. Okay. Okay, that's fairly well tacked on now. So we'll just go around and do the other side here. Right, so that's pretty much that. That's it soldered down. So what we've got here now is a USB to serial converter, essentially. It doesn't really need much in the way of external components to get it to work, which is great. A couple of decoupling capacitors, nothing too fancy, and this is going to do its business next to the USB sound card, and these two devices are going to plug into this, which is the USB hub that I made in the previous video. So instead of having this Chinese USB sound card that I took apart, instead of having that and this socket here, we'll have the two devices that we've made up here. Okay, so we're starting to get quite close to putting something together at last. What I'm going to do is I'm going to solder this breakout board onto a piece of Vera board with all the external passives that it requires, and we're going to get it plugged into our USB hub and make sure that it works. Once that's sorted, I'm going to get it running on a few bits of RoIP software, toggle the outputs and the inputs high and low, make sure that it plays nice with all the software that we intend to use it with, and you know, just generally put it through its paces, make sure it works. Once we've got that flying, then I can do the same with the USB sound card. That's actually going to be quite challenging. That's got a lot of external passives that are required. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for now. So if you're not already following on the Facebook group, I'll put a link for it down in the description. It's a Facebook page, not a group, so it's not something that you can join as such. If you want to keep up to date with, you know, all the things that are happening here, then hit follow on the Facebook page and you'll get emailed with all of the updates, and any new developments that happen here will be posted up. Okay, thanks for watching and I'll catch you later on.